presently 79. Really, I don't feel my age. And it might have a lot to do with the ranch. These are holes that the Kauai Sioux women would come down to and grind up acorns.
Shows the struggle of ranchers in a world that is progressing and making a lot of changes, but is struggling most certainly to keep up and consider the consequences of a lot of these changes and evolutions on all people, including those who have worked for so long in this particular field of work, who are now kind of being outsourced and undervalued and made inoperable and just kind of sidelined. I think that while there is obviously a lot of good that can come from some of these evolutions of eating less meat, etc., we still need to consider, much like in the fuel conversations we have on fossil fuels, how we're still ensuring that the people who have made their livelihoods on certain kinds of upkeep on certain kinds of commodities, how they're able to still sustain and live with this ever-changing world going on. So some very important questions.
We still have a lot of people who still view being a cowboy as their livelihood, and they're protecting our lands by maintaining them with this lifestyle, and grazing them with cattle, and really helping the environment with this profession. Even if we can't see them from the road, hence the title, we can't see these cowboys doing their work that is so important, and we don't see it really reported on or anything like that. So personally, I didn't know that cowboys were still such a huge profession, but this documentary really hammered home that even though we don't see them, that they are still doing that really good work for the environment, and that should be supported, and not, it shouldn't be something that's disappearing at the rate that it is, because it is so important for the environment and for our country. Just seeing the huge impact the inheritance tax had on this family, and how they almost lost their ranch simply due to the fact that a family member died and they couldn't afford the inheritance tax. That was shocking to me, that the government had that kind of power to just take something away like that. But seeing that the California Rangeland Trust was able to save their ranch was really cool, and something to be supported in the United States.
It nods to the notion of being on the highway and being surrounded by this land and not really recognizing who's taking care of this land, who is taking the notion to honestly bring food to your tables. This is an appreciation for agriculture and farm workers, which is very important to kind of see the absolute need that we have in our world, and the importance, not only to get food to our tables, but to maintain and upkeep the environments that we live in, to see the long after effects of just Earth itself, but humanity. And the documentarian does a great job in getting a variety of faces. I think each character that we meet is sort of relatable to the eye. I think they've done a great job in making you feel and empathize and care for each individual's story that we get to witness. You really do get to see the middle class, traditional American, so to speak, here. And we get to see different families and how they've come to gain this land and sort of maintain it, and the problems that come with keeping their land, trying to expand, but then expanding too much and having to sell your land, having to do all of these tricks of the trade in order to keep afloat, which is, I think, something that a lot of us can understand right now.
In a lot of ways, the current social climate means that when something gets painted in a bad light and it becomes kind of trendy, that you have this kind of cancel culture, and you only get one perspective, or you can only get one perspective, you can only get one storyline out of it. And especially when so many people kind of jump into it or support that, and it does kind of gain this power and this momentum, it's really hard to flip that perspective in any way. And I think that 100% has happened with agriculture. And I feel like, yes, there, just like with everything, there are going to be negative aspects, but you also have to look at the reality of the situation. You can't just look at it and pick it apart for one part of it. It's like, running into a door frame or something and then hating all doors forever. Like, you can't only look at one specific part and paint the entire industry in that same light. There are, and like agriculture as a whole has many, many different facets to it. And I feel like what has happened is very much that people have just painted everything with kind of like in one light, and that's all that they want to say about it. So I really, really loved this movie because it gave the perspective that I think we were missing. And personally, I was missing. I didn't really have that connection or anything like that, or that perspective previous. So I really appreciated just the straight up learning aspect of learning about farming, learning about agriculture, learning about how much they're struggling and what that kind of narrative looks like.
The biggest things I took out of this was that, viewing the wilderness from the road doesn't mean there's not somebody taking care of it and cultivating it and keeping it healthy and thriving. And that, even just the grazing of the cattle affects so much, even the wildflowers, the fires, the other, regrowth and sustaining all the animals after the regrowth even. So it's just a really, really informative and beautiful documentary about agriculture, farmland. It was mind-blowing that less than 2% of Americans work in production agriculture. I was surprised by that, actually. Really love the family picture at the end. Sorry, not picture, but the showing of the family and the long table having dinner out on the ranch. I thought that was a beautiful shot. Really nice music throughout and all the great quotes. I didn't know that the U.S. loses 2,000 acres of ranch and farmland daily, which is mind-blowing. And really cool shots of the horse and the dogs reflected in the water along the beach. That was really neat. I just love the camera work and the production value in this. All the different people talking, the family bond, and what the family ranch means to them, and that they're willing to fight for it. I took, a lot of great stuff from this, just not quitting, not giving up. Just because problems arise doesn't mean you quit. Really great values that these people have, and that they can pass on these to their kids.
I really enjoyed the footage of the animals in the ranch and the close-ups and also longer shots of the natural space. That combined with the really slow and upbeat music and the perspectives from everyone interviewed, I think made it feel like a walk through a ranch and kind of getting a tour and seeing what it's like from day to day and hearing that passion from the ranchers. And I think that makes for a really neat and enjoyable documentary.